Okay, thank you, Ina. So, hi everyone. My name is Mira. I'm account manager at Ally and your host for today. I think you agree that in ever-changing world of education, it's crucial to stay ahead. So that's why we welcome you and we are excited for our new webinar, Video-Based Scenario Learning and Strategies for Implementation. So during today's session, we're going to explore scenario-based learning, video integration, of course, offering new ways to improve your training program, be it the new one or the existing ones that you had. So get ready to learn innovative strategies, gain practical knowledge, and discover real-world applications. So our speaker for today is Ina Horwath. She's learning strategies at LI. She will lead today's discussion, and as always, keep an eye for additional resources in the description or via QR code. Ina, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone, and thanks, Mira, for introducing me. I'm very happy to be here. And usually, actually, this topic of video-based scenario learning, it's divided in two. It's either video-based learning or scenario-based learning. But I feel that there is a natural synergy between these two. So I'm really excited for diving into this topic a bit more and couple of words for whom this will be beneficial for. So anyone who is interested in education is more than welcome here, but the use cases of scenario-based learning will be mostly based on corporate examples. So please keep in mind this topic. So a couple of words on the agenda for today. Firstly, we will start from scenario-based learning itself and how it's beneficial, its definition, and the crucial elements of scenario-based learning. Afterwards, we will share with you some tips and tricks on how to incorporate the videos in scenario-based learning in the most natural way, and share some use cases that we found work the best with this kind of approach. Last but not least, of course, we will share some tools and technologies. And finally, the Q&A session. Okay, so let's get started. Firstly, the definition. So what is scenario-based learning? It is an immersive educational approach which lets learners face challenges or obstacles that they normally face during their work life. This helps them to practice decision-making skills, and also it creates the safe environment where you can't actually fail, right? So the most logical and obvious example here is the medical students. So instead of learning on, so instead of doing the surgery right on the patient, you can create the safe environment, some simulation practices in order to achieve the result, which will not cause any harm, right? So it won't have any negative effect. So when we talk about necessary elements, we need to mention that there should be a particular set of circumstances. For instance, a challenge, a narrative, and some common elements like role play or problem solving, and a demonstration of a taught skills. And what's most important is the exploration of the outcomes. We will talk a lot about branching today. So what it leads to, what each and every decision of the learner brings to in the end. So a couple of more elements of the scenarios. Firstly, it's a challenge. So what I mean by that? We will explore today an example of an educational video called feedback technique for the first-time managers. So what I mean by the challenge is not to just learn what is the feedback technique, but actually to give feedback and explore the result that this feedback gives to your employee, right? So is he satisfied with the feedback? Is he actually, does he understand what you were trying to accomplish? Is his behavior improve, and so on? So next we will go to narrative. We learn through stories, am I right? Storytelling is one of the most crucial elements of learning and development. And by building a very strong story, you can create a narrative which will hook your students. And Mira will share the link in the chat below with some great storytelling techniques which will inspire you, because well, we don't usually all of us have time to create very large scripts, and we will see in a bit closer to the end of this session how to do it time efficiently. Choice. So this is one of the most important things in scenario-based learning. Now, for those of you who have played via PlayStation or Xbox or whatever, please don't be embarrassed. There is nothing wrong with that. It's really great, actually, for educators to go through some of the games, because they can provide really strong understanding of scenario-based techniques. There was once a game called Detroit Becomes Human. And by the end of this game, which is around 20-25 hours, you can see that there were around 100 ways, I might be wrong about the number, but let's say around 100 ways how the game could actually finish. And you can see that each and every choice of yours could have brought to some sort of scenario outcome. And this is how I think that it would be beneficial to imagine ourselves. So you are a game creator, you're a creator of a whole learning path, which your learner is in charge of. So you are not given a question, something like, well, coming back to the feedback, provide the elements of an effective feedback. It actually doesn't give you anything, because the learner can just scroll to the beginning of the video and check what are the elements of the effective feedback. What would give an actual learning impact is to provide a dialogue where your learner can choose an answer which would bring to some sort of reaction from the video, which answers to you that, oh, okay, sorry, this answer, I can't really understand your feedback. Could you repeat that? What are my actions? What do you expect me to do? Right? So this is what your employee would tell you, but maybe not the same tone, but this is what they would ask you normally in life. Not to just, hey, you gave me great feedback. There were these 4 elements of this technique, and I can see that. That's not how the conversation and communication works. Moving on, we've got some roles and role plays, which is a very natural in terms of narrative. And by providing context, you actually give and assign roles to your learner through simulation learning. And of course, it brings to authenticity. Now, we will also share a really great research. And there was a phrase that really hooked me. Stuart, he considers that scenarios are essential slices of reality, and that's why they demand authenticity. So the closer to the reality is your simulation, the bigger is the learning impact. We all know that to be true, and it's quite logical. If your learning path is not adjusted to the actual goal that you are learning objective that you are trying to achieve, then there won't be any results. So you won't have a feasible and tangible result or the behavior of your learner. So what you need to do is to create a narrative and a background which your learner can relate to, can feel that, hey, this is actually my work. This is what I can use. Not just 4 elements of feedback that I can know, but can I apply them actually? So moving on, this brings us to some benefits. And they are quite logical by this couple of minutes of this webinar. I'm sure you can understand that engagement and retention are one of them. And if we can relate, if we can understand that, hey, this is something that I do in real life, then we can remember it and then we can apply it. And in terms of scenario-based learning, this is as close as you can possibly get to the reality. What I mean is that usually you would have maybe a test, and you can describe the situation, you can give the background, you can create a narration. However, this will be a really, really long text on the slide. Video helps with that a lot, and let's discuss why. So, in this part of our webinar, I'd like to share with you some tips and tricks. So how would actually video be applied to scenario-based learning? So first things first, you always start from learning objective, right? Especially in the terms of your target audience, is it really relevant? What are you trying to achieve? And based on this, you need to choose if you would like your scenario-based learning to be with feedback or with feedback and reflection. What I mean is that once you created, let's say, a dialogue-based learning where a video of two people talking, and let's say you need to choose a correct answer or to give your reaction, or by somehow applying the learned material before, then you would face the consequences, right? So you are a character, you are actually in PlayStation, right? So you are choosing and you're facing the outcomes of your choice. This is what I mean by feedback in terms of scenario-based learning. And feedback and reflection is when by the end, that's quite important, by the end of the scenario, you get to analyze the behavior of the learner and why she was wrong, let's say, or what influenced this behavior, right? Okay, so next on, we've got a non-linear scenario. That's the most important part of it, meaning that once you start to give the freedom to the learner, you cannot stop. So you need to, okay, coming back to the PlayStation example, 100 endings, it's a little bit too much, right? No one has time for that. So what you need to do is to build a strong narration with as many endings as it's required, not as you want. We don't do gamification for the sake of the gamifications, right? So you would like, first you need to choose the behavior that you want to achieve and the behavior that you think can be ruining or in some sort of damaging, let's say with customer service, right? So you know how you want your employee to be able to talk to the customers and how you don't want to be. So start from that point and create the endings of these scenarios where the way the learner talks to a customer brings to some sort of scenario. And always prepare several branches, so it can't be just one question where customer asks, "Hi, I need your help," and the learner says, "Oh no, sorry, I can't." That's clearly not enough. You need to provide more context. Next on, let's talk a bit about realism and relevance. What I mean by that is, in terms of the video, you have more opportunities to create the situation closer to the, to adjust the situation more to the real life. So you can create backgrounds, visuals. You can choose appropriate avatars if you are, if you choose to go with AI avatars, videos. You can choose the accent, etc., etc. This way you create additional attachment and relevance of the situation. And again, if the learner can relate, he can remember. Next on, we talk about interactivities and decision making. So it's not enough to just give a video, hey, this is how it should be done. This is how the employee should talk to customers or something like that. You need to provide a field to make a choice and to influence. That's again coming to the non-linear scenario. So you need to invest into very strong interactivities. So scenario-based learning is by default full engagement of the learner. So questions like what are the elements of the feedback are not enough. You need to actually make sure that it's not by Bloom's taxonomy, right? So it's not just understanding, but it's also applying and further. Next on, last but not the least, let's talk about use cases. So when these kind of trainings are actually working best. So I think I've said dialogues a couple of times already. If someone counted, please tell me the number. So very logical that communication trainings work one of the best. It can be for sales managers, For instance, when you've got your training, actually just a small example here. Once we did a research where we asked all the sales managers what sort of communication training do they think works the best on them. And all of them, they said, well, when I need to talk to my boss, and whether he pretends that he is a client, because he doesn't sugarcoat it, right? And also you're nervous. Hey, this is my boss. What am I going to tell to him? I need to sell something to my boss and I need to show that I'm good. So this is the element of reality of the situation, because the boss knows that the client won't just say, hey, please buy. I'm ready to buy everything or whatever. And the second thing is that there is an element of stress, that this is a real situation. Now, what you can't do is to have your boss conduct every single training with each and every employee. So in this kind of cases, video-based simulation training is the best thing that you can provide in terms of its realism, right? Next on, we talk about safety scenarios. You know, it's the simple, is it a red or blue wire cut, right? So I'm not going to make a mistake in these terms. So nothing bad is going to happen if you click the wrong picture, if you choose the wrong wire. Hence, really great option. And last but not the least, product training throughout some challenges. What I mean is that you can provide your employees with the system that you want them to learn, and not just say, this is the screenshot of the system. Here you can find this button, and here you can report a bug, and here you can contact to the customer. It's good, but not good enough. What you can actually do is to assign a task to the employee. You need to, you have a bug to fix, you need to find an error, you need to complete the procedure. And when you give a certain set of steps, let's say there is a process coming of 10 steps, and if in the second one your employee makes a mistake, by the end of the scenario where there are several branches of the outcomes, you can explain to the employee that, hey, this was actually step 2, that you made a mistake, and this is how the actions influence one another. So it's a domino effect kind of. But if I'm a strong believer that sometimes we learn from mistakes more than we learn from positive results. So when you just randomly browse through the tests and you choose these 4 elements of correct feedback over and over again, you are well acquainted to the system. What am I supposed to do to get A on the tests? I'm sure that we all had this in university, you know, this kind of examples of testing that are really easy and you can adjust. But can you know the material? Well, that's not necessary, and that's not something which is guaranteed. Let's talk a little bit about tools. So, speaking of scenarios, they do require hard work, especially if we are talking about branching scenarios. What you can do to help yourself to save some time is, of course, ChatGPT. I'm sure that no one has been surprised by this point. And this is something that many people use on a daily basis, and it's clear why. Of course, when we talk about security and safety, you're not to share some sensitive information. However, it does give you a great option to play around with scenarios. Hi, please create for me 15 options, 15 scenarios, 15 situations, 15 storytelling examples of, and there you have it, you've got to start to work with. Next on, library of visuals. In order to maximize the effect of reality, you need to have already strong visuals. For instance, if we are talking about, well, once I was working in the oil industry, and there we had hundreds of screenshots and photos of refineries. And of course, they were in each and every scenario-based simulation, because this is something which is a background, but it creates a mood. And it, if you can immerse your learner better, then you should do it, right? Next on, Articulate 360 in terms of its great options of branching. If you have, once I had a situation where we had 150 tests options, and they were divided into several categories of easy, medium, and the hardest. And based on the answer, it was an adaptive learning path, and it was bringing the learner backwards and forwards from the hardest to learning to the easiest material based on what she answers. And in terms of articulate, those who know the interface know that it's quite easy to do so. And of course, we are here to talk about video-based learning. So we will briefly see what are the options of Eli.io in terms of incorporating scenario-based learning. And please give me a second. I'm going to share my screen again, but with another tab. Okay, could you see my screen? Awesome. Okay, so once you're here, we're going to stop today only on interactive videos. So when you choose from the template and you go to interactive videos, there are already several templates. So we will choose today branching dialogue test. What it means that once you've created, my internet is a bit slow. Okay, so once you created your scenario, once you've already given the information required for the learner to complete the testing, you can create dialogue-based testing. And from there, based on each answer, the learner gets different outcome. So we all know the drill with AI videos. You just copy paste the text and your avatar tells all the necessary information. But what I wanted to show here is actually how to create dialogues. So once you've created here an avatar, you can also create a listening avatar, which is by clicking into the avatar section and pressing on this headphone sign. This will create a dialogue between the avatars. Yeah, it is divided here in slides, but in video itself, it won't be visible. And of course, feel free to navigate the tool yourself. And my part here is done. We've tried to maximize the material in 25 minutes, and it's exactly 25 minutes. I hope I wasn't rushing too much, but there is so much to talk when it comes to this topic. And yeah, Mira, coming back to you.
Thank you, Ina. That was amazing. Yeah, we really got a lot of insights, and I hope you all found the session informative and inspiring. So I'm sure that the quest for improved learning never stops. So feel free to apply the knowledge gained today in your training programs. Feel free to use the mentioned tools and keep discovering new possibilities with LI. Integrate AI into your educational training because, again, AI is the future. And for future inquiries, feel free to reach out to sales@.io.